Netflix is trying to get into live sports because Amazon, through their Prime service, they have successfully been showing games where they've shown Thursday night games for quite a while, and they've showed live sports, and they've done quite well with it. Also, Netflix has done well with like the Formula One. It's more of a documentary show, but the F1 show has just been incredibly successful. I know I watched the F1 Drive to Survive, show, and it's probably one of my favorites. And Netflix has also shown some documentaries on like quarterbacks and wide receivers for the NFL. I think that's really successful for Netflix, so they should keep doing it. So far, so good with the telecast. The game's on just as you would expect it, whether it be on regular TV, linear TV, or if it was on Prime. It's streaming just fine. I know they partnered, I believe, with Prime or Amazon Prime to produce this particular game. So this could be a nice stock boost for Netflix. If they pull today off, I think investors are going to show up tomorrow and buy into Netflix stock because the game came off really well. Not too long ago, they put together that fight between Chris Paul and, or was it Jake Paul and Mike Tyson? And it pulled me in. I'm a Mike Tyson fan, right? I'm 56. And Iron Mike Tyson was, man, he was incredible in his prime. And the Netflix, I guess, producers put together that fight and was probably more for show than it was for, a athletic sporting event, because it wasn't much of a fight after all. But I think it was successful in getting eyeballs on screens. It was interesting. The buildup was interesting to see if, a great champion at an older age could beat a younger amateur. And the reality was that Father Time is undefeated. As we get older, we get slower. Our strength goes away. And even the great Mike Tyson is being defeated by Father Time. Oh, well. Good news for stock investors is that Ed Kiter, the female fight was much more interesting. You are correct, sir. Ed Kiter, I got to hand it to you, buddy. It's been a pleasure to have you in the community. You always have insightful, well thought out comments, and this one's just a great example of one because you just pointed out something that is very true about that Tyson fight. And obviously, they pulled you in, they pulled me in, and it was kind of like the talk among my friends and business contacts the weeks leading up to the fight. We were talking about that fight, so it was a really good idea that these guys put together. So, I give Netflix really a lot of credit for continuing to grow from, being a streamer. And they've been a really good company that's pivoted over time. If you consider my first experience with Netflix was we were in the DVD era, right? We saw movies on DVDs. We'd stick them in our DVD players. We'd watch movies. And Netflix allowed you to rent them. And the business of rentals was you would go somewhere, you rent that DVD, you'd bring it home, play it, then you return it. Well, Netflix said, hey, we're going to save you the hassle. You just order up what you need on the internet. We'll ship them to you. And then you mail them back because you'll have some envelopes that we include. You put them in the mail and they go back. That was the first service that I subscribed to. I've been a customer ever since. So I'm probably, along with millions of customers, a good customer of Netflix's. And what I give them credit for is they abandoned that model and bet the whole business on streaming. They actually offered themselves to the big company in the space at the time, which was Blockbuster. They said, hey, Blockbuster, you're bigger, you have more capital. We think streaming is going to be the future. What do you say you acquire us? And then you build this streaming business. And Blockbuster said, no, thank you. We don't believe in that. You guys are crazy. Live to regret those words of turning down Netflix. And Netflix is now a $398 billion market cap company that is just flourishing. They're up 91% this year. Very good return. What's interesting about Netflix is there's been some doubters, and the doubt really existed not too long ago. Look at that. Big drop. Scott's due diligence coming in. Thank you so much, Scott. That means a lot, man. And since it is Christmas, let me extend a big thank you to you on my behalf, but I think on the behalf of a lot of viewers of your channel. I really appreciate all the videos you produce. I watch them. I learn something. I get more information on my investments. I usually, I might analyze a company, and then I want to hear how you analyze a company. And sometimes we're right there, very aligned. And once in a while, I got to double check my work because I see something you picked up on, and I get better at it. So thank you so much for the sponsorship of the live stream today. And we're going to be streaming together, Scott's Due Diligence and I, this Saturday. It's going to be at 11:30 Pacific, whatever that ends up being on your side. It'd be great to have you. And we'll have Scott, answering questions, maybe sharing his screen, analyzing companies, talking about topics. So back to Netflix. So Netflix, was a great buy not too long ago. I think it's gotten a little expensive now, but I think they have the momentum to grow into their valuation. A valuation of 52 on the PE side is a little high. Even analysts are saying, hey, it's a little expensive. But let's take a look at their growth rate and their margins. Their growth has slowed down during some years, but look at that. It's beginning to grow a little faster. In fact, the last 2 quarters have looked good. 15% in Q3, 16% in Q2. Nicely done, Netflix. Top line is growing nicely. When we look at this business, it's growing nicely. It's producing free cash. I want to take a peek at their gross margins are 45%. That's very good. They do have a lot of production cost. Netflix is finding themselves having to create a lot of content, which could be very expensive. And, the movie business, everybody remembers the movie that made lots of money, like Avatar, as an example. Avatar was a movie that, I forgot what the production costs were, like $1 billion or something. And it made a lot of money. The studio made a lot of money, but a lot of movies lose considerable amounts. And that becomes really risky for a studio. And Netflix is somewhat of a studio in themselves, and they're having to, spend a lot of money and risk a lot of capital in making these movies. So far, so good, but that's just one of the risk items that I see in Netflix. They don't have a big giant library like Disney or Warner Brothers. They actually have to pay to use those libraries and put them on Netflix. But all in, I think they have a very strong and loyal customer base, me included. I think I've been a customer, 25 years. For as long as Netflix has been around, I've been a customer. So there you go. I don't even have like a phone anymore, like dial-up or, the phone that I have wireless. I gave that up years ago, but I've never given up my Netflix. Mr. 123 Cheetah. Blockbuster had too much late fee. Netflix. Yeah, exactly, man. Wasn't that a pain in the neck when you'd go back with your DVDs and they'd be like, hey, man, sorry, but you owe us $20 on a DVD that costs like $10. It's like, oh, man, frustrating. Yeah, agree. Smart videos on Scott's Due Diligence. Awesome videos on his channel. And Scott is long on Netflix. I think that's one of your positions, and good for you. You've made a lot of money at it, and congratulations with that holding. It's been a good one. I've been in and out of Netflix. I was in, I got out, and looks like I left the party too early because it's been going up consistently. Look at that, 91%. Back to their financials. So their margins are around 45%. That's very good. And their free cash flow is looking good. I believe their balance sheet, just to take a peek at it, should be in good shape. Debt's $18.5 billion. Cash is $9.2 billion. Net debt is $9.28 billion. And their EBITDA is more than that, so they can pay off debt in 1 year. So it looks good. Looks really good. My valuation on Netflix is, I think they're overpriced. They're priced a little too high, 7%. Now, I think it was a mistake for me to sell Netflix. And I think a company like this is just going to continue to grow and expand their multiple as well as their revenues and continue to grow into a greater valuation. Hindsight's 2020. But I think it was a mistake selling this. But at least I was, I guess, wise enough to buy it in the first place and make some money on it. So this is just a quality company. It's a part of the future. The one thing I'd like to see Netflix do is diversify a little better. Right now, they're kind of a single business kind of entity, and they're getting into sports and stuff, which is good. Speaking of sports, Kansas City's up 6-0 over Pittsburgh right now. We're still in the first quarter. But how can they diversify? Because Netflix is competing against some really strong, powerful, diversified businesses. Google Alphabet, right? the YouTube business is actually the number one streaming service now. More people stream on YouTube than on Netflix. And Google Alphabet is very well diversified. So that is kind of a just a structured disadvantage to Netflix, meaning if their primary business doesn't do well, they've got nothing to fall back on. Where Google Alphabet has search, now they have the robo-taxi business and Waymo, they have their Google Cloud business, so they have some diversification. And then the other competitor they have is Amazon with Amazon Prime. And Amazon has this powerful e-commerce business, which obviously it's number one, worldwide for e-commerce sales. And they have their cloud business. They have other businesses as well. And they have a streaming business. So they're competing against some really, really strong, powerful companies. And they compete against Disney as well. But I don't consider Disney a new generation company like an Amazon or, a Google Alphabet. So it'd be nice to see them diversify, maybe even merge with somebody so that they can compete against the big giant companies. Maybe like a Netflix Meta merger might make sense, because I don't think there's not a lot of overlap between Netflix and Meta. They kind of do different things, but those businesses might complement each other quite well. And can you imagine the exposure you can get on Meta or Facebook, Instagram, and so forth for Netflix? That might be interesting. So, but Netflix is not broken, but just thinking long term, I think they need to diversify a bit and become stronger and able to maybe weather downturns in entertainment. For example, if Netflix maybe had some bad luck for a while and they had a string of bad movies, they produced, these movies, each one cost them 200, however many millions of dollars, and they spent all that money and it was just a dud across the board. Well, that'd be a really, really bad year, maybe a couple of bad years. And that might be a very tough period for the company. And investors might lose confidence. Employees might lose confidence. A lot of the whole market would lose confidence. Meanwhile, their competitors, they can maybe suffer a downturn in entertainment, but their other businesses kind of keep growing. And actually, they just continue to flourish. So we'll see. For now, I just congratulate Netflix for their success, as well as the stockholders that own the stock.